You think you've seen everything in WWE? Think again. The 3rd of November 2025, a date that will live in infamy. Stephanie Baker just crossed a line so horrifying, so absolutely disgusting, that even the most hardcore wrestling fans are questioning if WWE has finally gone too far. She attacked an unconscious Nikki Bella. Fine, that's wrestling. But then she kissed her, on live television, without consent, while Nikki was knocked out cold. And here's what makes this 1,000 times worse: WWE cameras captured every single second. They produced it, they aired it, they sold it as entertainment. So the question burning up the internet right now isn't just what was Baker thinking, it's who in WWE's corporate office thought this was acceptable, because someone signed off on this. Someone in Stamford said, yes, let's do this. And we're about to expose exactly who's responsible for this train wreck. Before we dive deep into this absolute dumpster fire, we have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. Let's break down what actually happened, because the footage is somehow even more disturbing when you analyze it frame by frame. Nikki Bella returns after months away from WWE programming. The crowd is hot for her, massive pop, standing ovation, the whole 9 yards. She's cutting a promo about her comeback, talking about reclaiming her spot at the top of the women's division. Standard babyface return stuff, right? The crowd is eating it up. Then Stephanie Baker's music hits. Now, for those who don't know, Baker has been tearing it up on the independent circuit. She's got legitimate star power, incredible in-ring skills, the total package. WWE just signed her to a huge contract 2 months ago, and everyone backstage has been talking about her main roster debut. But this wasn't a debut, this was character assassination for both women involved. Baker storms the ring, and the initial attack, textbook heel heat. She jumps Nikki from behind, beats her down with stiff shots, hits her finisher, the package pile driver, and Nikki is out, completely unconscious. Lights are on, nobody's home. And here's where everything goes nuclear. Baker stands over Nikki's body, looks directly into the camera with this twisted smile, then leans down and forcibly kisses her on the mouth for a solid 5 seconds while the commentary team falls silent. Michael Cole doesn't know what to say. Corey Graves sounds horrified. And the crowd? Half are booing out of legitimate discomfort, the other half don't even know how to react. Trivia question 1, drop in the comments, what year did Nikki Bella win her first WWE Divas Championship? Now let's talk about the immediate fallout, because social media exploded in real time. Within 30 minutes, Stephanie Baker and Nikki Bella were trending #1 worldwide on X, formerly Twitter. But these weren't typical wrestling trending topics where fans are debating who won or lost. These were thousands of fans expressing genuine disgust, confusion, and anger. Wrestling journalists were scrambling to get statements from WWE. Mainstream media outlets were picking up the story. TMZ, Entertainment Weekly, even major news networks were running segments asking, has WWE gone too far? Because this isn't about worked shoots or pushing boundaries for storytelling, this is about WWE broadcasting a simulated sexual assault on live television and framing it as character development. And here's what makes this exponentially worse from a booking perspective: there was no payoff plan. According to multiple sources backstage that we've spoken with at Wrestling Zone Insider, this wasn't building to some long-term angle. This wasn't Baker establishing herself as a psychotic heel character with a comprehensive storyline. This was creative scrambling to make Baker's debut memorable and shocking because they had nothing else planned. One source told us, and this is a direct quote, they wanted her to get nuclear heat immediately, and someone in the room suggested this without thinking through the implications. Let that sink in. WWE Creative, the same team responsible for billion-dollar storylines, approved this without considering how it would look to sponsors, advertisers, parent groups, and the millions of fans who watch with their children. The backstage reaction has been intense. Multiple wrestlers we've spoken with, who requested anonymity because they don't want heat with management, expressed serious concerns about this angle. One female superstar told us, "This crosses every line. We've been fighting for years to be taken seriously, to move past bra and panties matches, to be seen as legitimate athletes and storytellers. And in one segment, they've undone years of progress." Another veteran wrestler, someone who's been with WWE for over a decade, said the locker room was stunned into silence when they watched it happen on the monitors backstage. Nobody knew this was coming. Nikki wasn't consulted about this specific spot. Baker apparently thought she was just doing a standard beatdown heel debut. And when that kiss happened, sources say Baker looked confused after breaking the kiss, like she was suddenly realizing what she'd just been made to do on live television. Trivia question 2, tell us in the comments, what's the name of Stephanie Baker's finishing move? ***. Now let's talk about who's actually responsible, because this is where the story gets really interesting. According to our sources, this angle was pitched in a last-minute creative meeting just hours before Raw went live. Triple H wasn't in that meeting, he was dealing with production issues for an upcoming premium live event. The pitch came from one of the newer writers on the creative team, someone who previously worked in Hollywood and thought they could bring edgier content to WWE programming. But here's the kicker, multiple veteran writers in that room raised red flags immediately. They pointed out the consent issues, the optics problems, the sponsor concerns, and they were overruled by an executive producer who thought the controversy would drive social media engagement. And you know what? They were right about the engagement, but for all the wrong reasons. Yes, WWE got millions of impressions online. Yes, Raw's viewership spiked when word spread about the controversial segment. But the cost? Potentially catastrophic. WWE stock took a hit the next morning when several investors expressed concerns about brand safety. 3 major sponsors, whose names we can't disclose due to legal reasons, reportedly reached out to WWE headquarters demanding explanations. Parent advocacy groups started calling for boycotts. And the wrestling media? We're having serious conversations about whether WWE has learned anything from past controversies. The most infuriating part, WWE could have achieved the exact same result, establishing Baker as a psychotic, dangerous heel without crossing this line. Have her destroy Nikki with a brutal chair assault. Have her mock Nikki's legacy and accomplishments. Have her stand over Nikki's body and cut a vicious promo claiming the women's division belongs to her now. Any of those options would have generated the heat they wanted without simulating assault on live television. This wasn't creative genius, this was creative bankruptcy masquerading as bold storytelling. And we haven't even touched on what this means for Nikki Bella's character moving forward. How does she respond to this? If WWE books her as just moving on to a standard wrestling feud, they are minimizing what happened and sending a terrible message. If they address it seriously, they are acknowledging that they aired something deeply problematic and have to deal with those real-world implications in storyline. They've backed themselves into a corner with no good options. Either way, Nikki, who's already dealt with years of unfair scrutiny and criticism throughout her career, now has to navigate a storyline that could define her in the worst possible way. Trivia question 3, comment below, what WWE Hall of Famer trained Nikki Bella? Let's talk about the bigger picture here, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. WWE has spent the last several years, especially under Triple H's creative leadership, positioning itself as a more sophisticated, sports entertainment product. They've emphasized long-term storytelling, character development, legitimate athletic competition. The women's division has been revolutionized, with wrestlers like Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Becky Lynch main-eventing premium live events and being treated as equals to their male counterparts. They've distanced themselves from the Attitude Era excess and Ruthless Aggression Era exploitation. They've courted mainstream legitimacy, negotiating massive media rights deals worth billions. And then they do this? One segment threatens to undermine all that progress. Because now, every time someone criticizes WWE for not respecting their women's division, this will be Exhibit A. Every time WWE tries to position itself as family-friendly entertainment, critics will point to this. Every time they negotiate with sponsors or advertisers, those companies will remember this. The damage this one segment could do to WWE's brand perception is incalculable. Our sources indicate that by Tuesday morning, less than 24 hours after the segment aired, there was an emergency creative meeting at WWE headquarters. Triple H personally addressed the team, and according to multiple people in that meeting, he was furious. Not the worked, kayfabe angry boss character, legitimately angry that this got through without his approval. He reportedly asked point blank, who signed off on this? Who thought this was acceptable? And when he found out it was approved by an executive producer while he was busy with other production matters, he made it crystal clear that nothing remotely like this would ever air again without his direct approval. But here's the problem, the damage is done. You can't unring that bell. That footage exists. It aired live to millions of viewers. It's been clipped, shared, analyzed, and dissected across every social media platform. WWE can issue statements, they can apologize, they can pivot the storyline, but that moment is now part of WWE history, and it's going to follow both Nikki Bella and Stephanie Baker for the rest of their careers. Every time someone Googles either name, articles about this incident will appear. Every time they are in a major storyline, fans will reference this. It's a permanent stain on both their legacies, and neither of them deserved it. Trivia question 4, final question for the comments, how many combined days did the Bella Twins hold tag team gold in WWE? So who's actually responsible? The writer who pitched it? The executive producer who approved it? The agents who didn't stop it? WWE management for not having better safeguards? The answer is all of them. This represents a systemic failure at multiple levels of WWE's creative and production process. It shows that despite all the progress WWE has made, there are still people in positions of power who don't understand, or don't care about, the responsibility that comes with broadcasting to a global audience. And here's what needs to happen next if WWE wants to salvage this situation. First, a genuine apology, not a corporate non-apology, but an actual acknowledgement that they made a serious mistake. Second, whoever approved this segment needs to face consequences, whether that's removal from their position or mandatory training on sensitivity and consent issues. Third, WWE needs to implement stronger approval processes to ensure nothing like this happens again. And fourth, they need to work with Nikki and Baker to craft storylines that allow both women to recover from this disaster. The wrestling business has always pushed boundaries. That's part of what makes it compelling entertainment. But there's a difference between pushing boundaries and crossing lines. There's a difference between generating heel heat and generating legitimate disgust. And there's a massive difference between shocking moments that enhance storytelling and shocking moments that damage careers and brand reputations. We're going to be following this story closely here at Wrestling Zone Insider because this is far from over. WWE has to address this, one way or another. They can't just pretend it didn't happen and move on. The wrestling world is watching. The mainstream media is watching. And most importantly, the fans are watching, and they are demanding answers. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think WWE went too far? Who should be held responsible? And how should they handle this moving forward? We want to hear from you. And don't forget, if you found this analysis valuable, smash that like button, subscribe to Wrestling Zone Insider, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our insider scoops and controversial takes on everything happening in the wrestling world. Because when everyone else is reporting the surface story, we're giving you the real story from behind the curtain. This is Wrestling Zone Insider, and we'll see you in the next one.